Welcome to day 318 of the New Way. I'll read Matthew 27:11 through 14. Meanwhile, Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" "You have said so," Jesus replied. When he was accused by the chief priest and the elders, he gave no answer. Then Pilate asked him, "Don't you hear the testimony they are bringing against you?" But Jesus made no reply, not even to a single charge, to the great amazement of the governor. And I'll read Mark 15:2 through 5. "Are you the king of the Jews?" asked Pilate. "You have said so," Jesus replied. The chief priest accused him of many things. So again Pilate asked him, "Aren't you going to answer? See how many things they are accusing you of?" But Jesus still made no reply, and Pilate was amazed. In Luke 23:1 through 5, then the whole assembly rose and led him off to Pilate, and they began to accuse him, saying, "We have found this man subverting our nation. He opposes payment of taxes to Caesar and claims to be Messiah, a king." So Pilate asked Jesus, "Are you the king of the Jews?" "You have said so," Jesus replied. Then Pilate announced to the chief priest and the crowd, "I find no basis for a charge against this man." But they insisted, "He stirs up the people all over Judea by his teaching. He started in Galilee and has come all the way here." And John's version, John 18:28 through 32. Then the Jewish leaders took Jesus from Caiaphas to the palace of the Roman governor. By now it was early morning, and to avoid ceremonial uncleanness, they did not enter the palace because they wanted to be able to eat the Passover. So Pilate came out to them and asked, "What charges are you bringing against this man?" "If he were not a criminal," they replied, "we would not have handed him over to you." Pilate said, "Take him yourself and judge him by your own law." "But we have no right to execute anyone," they objected. This took place to fulfill what Jesus had said about the kind of death he was going to die. Notice that the charges that they brought to Pilate were primarily politically based. I believe that they were accusing Jesus of things that Pilate was most afraid of. Let's look at them. First, there was subverting or misleading our nation. That means that he was undermining the current government. "Caesar will not be happy with you, and you'll lose your job." This is found in Luke 23:2. And they began to accuse him, saying, "We have found this man subverting our nation." Number 2, not paying taxes, which is anti-Caesar. So if he's teaching people to not pay taxes, then Caesar will not be happy with you and you'll lose your job. This is also found in Luke 23:2. He opposes payment of taxes to Caesar. And number 3, he claims to be king. Do you think Caesar will be happy with that? Luke 23:2, and claims to be Messiah, a king. And number 4, he is stirring up the people. This sounds like nothing important, but it really is the biggie. You see, Rome had already conquered the nation of Israel. Now all it wanted was for the people to be quiet and content and not form rebellion against Rome. Caesar does not want to have to send in troops to fight them again. He will not be happy if you let riots continue. Luke 23:5. But they insisted, he stirs up the people all over Judea by his teaching. He started in Galilee and has come all the way here. And number 5, he is an evildoer. While this is not a political charge, it is an important charge to show you that Satan is a liar. John 18:30. If he were not a criminal, they replied, we would not have handed him over to you. Now, I mentioned these in detail because I want you to know that Satan works that way. He's not concerned about telling the truth. What he wants to do is to get you to do things his way, so he pushes your buttons. He tells you the things that will get you the most upset. We've talked before about knowing your weak spots. This is where Satan always pushes first. We looked at how Satan attacks us on days 30 through 33. I encourage you to know your weak spots and ask God to show you how to fortify them so that you don't crumble every time Satan attacks. I tend to cave in when Satan says nobody loves me or that I have no value. They are both lies, but they are effective ones. I must always be on guard against those attacks. Satan knew Pilate's weak spots, and the Jewish leaders were poking them hard. I believe he was terrified of losing favor in his position of power with Rome. Pilate declared that he found no basis for the charges, and yet he seemed to have no power to make it stick. We'll continue this discussion next time. In his service, Dale.